It's the old Doctor Who show, episode 121. 121 in love. War Machines.
Go forward in all your beliefs and prove to me that I am not mistaken in mine. You couldn't control my mind before, and you certainly can't control it now.
Would you like a joke, dear?
The TARDIS, when working properly, is capable of many amazing things.
Reverse the polarity of the neutron flows and the TARDIS will be free of the force field.
Well, the TARDIS is more than a machine. It's ability, like a person, you see.
The resulting reaction is Friday. Are you ready?
Welcome back to the old Doctor Who show, your classic Doctor Who podcast, brought to you in tri-weekly installments. Once
Really
again, we
shaking it
are
up.
back in the bedazzled saddle of the trusty old pony, Shetland pony, just in time for Christmas. Dan, or Hanukkah,
Or none.
yeah, or none, or
maybe
Kwanzaa, or Diwali. Am I
Yeah,
pronouncing that correct?
Yeah.
Thank you, Dan. How are you, Dan?
I'm great. Do you need a shovel, or are you good? You're out? All right.
I'm
you're out.
fine.
Okay.
I wasn't shoveling myself.
No,
if that was
burying yourself.
probably
You're
for the
burying.
pony that's unfortunately been passed away
Oh.
for several years. Yeah, thanks for bringing it up.
Well, you started it. Hey, Eric. I'm doing great. Last time we talked,
Yeah,
we
tell
did
me
a
about
little
it.
bit of we
Tell me about it, Dan.
neglected to discuss probably the most pressing issue of our day. That would be that film Dune. Dune. Oh,
Hey?
wow. That's not bad.
I didn't draw these. These are my daughter. My daughter drew these for me
I
for
kinda
my birthday here, a little birthday celebration. We've got the Paul Atreides. You can't see this. It's an audio
but I
podcast.
can. Go ahead. You can, actually, I can't even see it because
Yeah,
you blurred your
Dan
background,
was
but-
getting to the fact that last time we did a show, Dan, being Dan and being on top of things, was reviewing Dune. And
Sure.
me being me, I thought we reviewed Dune. And I think it's because I said to you, oh, we got to do a dedicated
Yes.
Dune review podcast that I wanted
Which
to
we
do
did
almost instantly. And it never happened. But in my head,
goodness. You're
we
welcome,
did
folks.
it. And it was great. It was very entertaining. So we didn't talk about Dune. Although I guess you talked about Dune, right? And I just sort of just
You
sort
just
of blew
kinda-
it off. It was kind of strange.
So I mean, we don't need to. It's been weeks now.
It's
actually
been-
already off of HBO Max. Like you can't even go back and watch it. I think is it even still in theaters?
It's still in theaters, and I
But no
talked.
IMAX.
I know I talked last time that I wanted to see it in IMAX, and then I didn't get to see it in IMAX, and all of this stuff. And
Because you're not a real fan.
right, so I didn't see it in IMAX. I only saw it once in the theater. I saw it once on HBO Max. I loved it. You know, I had joked on Twitter, if there was a fire and you could only save one version of Dune, I would save the David Lynch Dune. The David Lynch Dune is still, to me, a more interesting film because it's clearly a David Lynch film as
Yes.
much as it is a Dune adaptation. That doesn't mean I don't. I loved the Denis Villeneuve Dune. It's not.
Well-
it did things like I'm a huge fan of the book. You're
Really?
never going to be able to replicate the book as a film. Maybe as a TV show.
Well, they tried that, and that didn't work either.
Yeah, I mean the miniseries,
not
whatever. But I think to
great.
do that book justice, it needed to be a TV show, not a film. Because when you're constructing a film, you're thinking about how long someone's got to sit in a seat in one setting, and you can't get what the book does so well is like that omniscient narrator, because you literally, Herbert is so good at putting you in the head of every single character, so you get all you know how everyone within the universe perceives the universe.
Right.
So you get a lot more time with things like Dr. Yui was really...
Yeah.
And I'm not going to spoil anything, so don't worry if you've not seen the book or watched the movie. So I'm gonna keep the spoilers to a minimum, so fear not. But Dr. Yui's a character in it that's really not present all that much in the movie, to the movie's fault, I think, because
100%.
That's a huge part of the book. Same thing with Thufir Howard and some of the stuff with Liet. And
Well, I would even
so there's
say in
lots
the
of
very
stuff that's just
beginning-
not there, but you have to make those choices because the movie's already almost 3 hours. So I totally get why they cut what they cut or they minimized what they minimized. Acting was fantastic. Timothy Chalamet was awesome. Here he is again. I got a little Timothy here that you guys can see, but not you guys. And by you guys, I mean Dan.
Yes.
It was awesome, and I can't wait to see the next one, and I can't wait to. I hope they do an extended edition like they did with Lord of the Rings, where we can get some of this stuff that was actually cut. But it's good.
I mean, I agree with that. I appreciate the Lynch film, and when it was the only version that was out there, it was great. It was I had seen the Lynch film before reading the book, but I would say that the Lynch film is more of where this movie is an adaptation of the book. The Lynch film is an interpretation of it.
Yeah,
he takes a lot of the ideas and goes in his own directions, which is something that you want from David Lynch. You want him to put it through his own point of view and change things in a way that makes sense to his own sensibilities. Where this felt a lot more true to the story itself. I don't feel like so much changed. It was more like you said, things had to be truncated and shaped up to make this more of a general audience sort of picture. So I mean, even small things like I was really surprised by how short Shout Out Mapes was in this. Like, to me, that was a really important character to introduce because it was the first Fremen that we really get a sense of, and we get to see, at least you get that sense of awe that she is communicating to the audience that this is happening. She is a true believer and is completely bought into the religion and the path that was laid before her by the Bene Gesserit. So you get that moment, but you don't get so much else. Where it feels like in the book they needed to win her over a little bit more.
Well, I
she
think
had doubt for a lot longer.
Right, we said we're not going to spoil anything, so it's going to be hard to talk about this without spoiling anything from the book. But that is such a how do I say this? I guess fast forward.
No one's listening to the
They've
Dune.
already tuned out.
Yeah, this is fine.
But one of the big complaints about the David Lynch version of Dune is that the idea of Paul Atreides and the super being savior Messiah figure that comes to Arrakis to save its people is played kind of straight. Whereas even at the end, there's a supernatural element, the end of the David Lynch film, where he makes it rain. The book is the opposite of that. And that scene that you're talking about is indicative of what Herbert's really saying, which is that the Bene Gesserit and their Missionaria Protectiva goes to these planets all across the universe and plants these seeds that then form religions or based on them that they then can manipulate. Right. And that scene in the book, and they didn't really do it in the movie, where the Shout Out Mapes is saying, like, what's the name of this crysknife? And in the book, you're in Jessica's head, and you feel that she's fishing within her memories to try to say the right word that's going to elicit the response that she wants. And she says maker instead of or the well dipper. It's something to do with like a well dipper or something. And
that's Mapes.
There's the name Shout Out Mapes is well dipper, but the death maker. Oh, so she's thinking like, should I say death maker? And she doesn't. She cuts out the word death and just says maker, and it has a much more profound effect. Right. But you get the sense that none of this prophecy is like really real. It's all a manipulation of powerful structures and how politics and and institutions abuse and use religion for their own ends. And you get that whole scene is one of my favorite in the book. That you really see that, and you don't really get that.
It's implied.
You don't get that in either movie.
No, it's, it's more implied in this movie. They do talk about it.
Yeah, they do.
Kind of.
Yes, they see. Yes, they see what you want them to see, or something along those lines.
Yeah, exactly. So it is explained to the audience, but it is much clearer in the book. And I think in the book, there's so many more parallels, things along those lines, that every sort of group has their own plans and schemes that they've been setting up for a long time. I mean, I don't think anyone is so far-reaching as the Bene Gesserit over centuries and centuries. But I mean, the Empire and playing the houses against each other is pretty clear in the movie. But all the different machinations that are happening are so much clearer in the book, with the Spacing Guild and everything.
Yeah, you don't even really get the Spacing Guild in this. You don't mention CHOAM. How are you going to mention CHOAM? Like, that's always still confusing, even to me.
Right.
But you said that scene was truncated, or like a little, very quickly. The Shut Up Meeps is hardly in it. The entire time that they're on Arrakis before whatever happens, is super short in the...
Super short.
Like, you don't even get a sense... Like, in the book, there's the whole dinner party scene, and you get a sense of, like...
Oh, and the
them
garden, too.
Their equipment...
The garden room in the palace, which I think is such a...
Oh, yeah.
It's not important, but it's such an interesting characterization. They only really talk about... Of course, it's obvious how important water is to people, but in the book, it is every other thought is about water. So the only thing you get in this, you get the palm trees, which was watering the palm trees, which was a slightly different thing, a different take on it. And you obviously the still suits and things like that. But in the book, having the garden room that was specifically built for Lady Jessica, and how Mapes felt about it, and the waste of perceived waste of water. It's just it is. I really expected that oppression of the need for water to be more present in the movie, like it is in the book, and it just didn't feel that way. It actually kind of went the other way and played up the beauty of Dune, which you get from the Fremen talking about especially Chani. I always say Chani. Did they say Chaney in the movie? In my head, it's Chani.
I think it's Chani.
After reading it, anyway, one of those things
where
you pronounce it
and whatever. Yeah, depending on what version you're seeing is how people.
Well, it's just what I've always heard in my head whenever I say it. But like Chani talking about like the sands at sunrise and say So they play up that side of it, which does come into the book later. But I think that came up much more when Paul is in the desert and finally gets to the settlements. Anyway, just slightly different. Slightly different.
But again, it's like always like choices. Like we talk about the scene with the watering of the palm trees.
The palm trees.
The palm trees are in the book, from what I remember. Mm-hmm. But like that's like a way of they have that one scene. It's the same sort of feeling as in the book. There's a dinner party scene where they have like these bowls of water when you walk in, and the rich people just put their hands in it and they throw the water on the floor, and then they mop it up in rags, and they throw the rags, or they sell the rags outside, and then
that's right.
Whatever. She's like, we're going to do away with this tradition, but there's all this stuff about tradition.
But then everything that depends on top of that.
It's
livelihoods. It's so much, and I do miss that part of it.
Yeah, and you don't get Count Fenring. You don't get any of that stuff that happens, and whatever. Read the book is what we're saying.
Well, yeah, basically.
And enjoy the movie.
The movie.
It's beautiful.
It's so beautiful. The cinematography is so beautiful. The scale of the buildings, of the ships, the built world around them felt real. It felt like it was in the future, but such a warped future. They don't really talk so much about the thinking machines. They do a little bit, and they really kind of...
No, they don't talk about the
Mentats. I mean, they kind of talk about
what they are, why they are.
But they don't really get into why that's so important, and why it's so important that Paul is this blend of kind of Bene Gesserit and Mentat training.
Yeah, they don't. They skip over that he's trained to be a Mentat.
But they do give you the audience enough to understand basically what's going on. So I think it's incredible.
Right, because if you try to include all of that stuff, you end up with what people didn't like about the David Lynch film, where they're constantly in someone's thoughts, and that's how you sort of tackle that whole omniscient viewpoint, is to have but where they have to have literally the Lynch film
Voiceover.
opens with the princess doing a huge, exposition
Information dump.
and
Yeah.
these are the Spacing Guild people, and
But-
these are this, and that's, and the Mentats
On the other
are
hand,
here for that.
that is kind of true to the book in a way.
Oh yeah,
because
because the book
chapters
is
open.
yeah.
So it was interesting to use that device to both be true to the source material, but also do a whole lot of business
Yes.
of setting things up front, which just seems like it would have been crazy for any audience to really.
Well, I really do hope that they do a Blu-ray with
Yeah.
the extended edition scenes, because there are scenes you and I talked over text, as kids want to do. But apparently the film, the Denis Villeneuve film, originally opened with Duncan Idaho landing on Arrakis when he goes ahead of everyone to try to make contact with the Fremen. And that was one of my favorite parts of the Villeneuve movie, is when you see like the Sardaukar floating down, and like how weird and unnerving and kind of beautiful that
silent.
image is, and quite like the way the sound design in Dune is as good, if not better, than the visuals. But that's a whole other discussion. But apparently that's how the film was supposed to open, with like a big sky and then just a single person landing on Arrakis, and then they opted for the Chani opening, which makes sense, because I feel like you needed to tie her into it, and it was a way of figuring out, seeing it from the Fremen viewpoint.
I think that makes a lot of sense, for that reason, but also to set up how important she will become in later portions of the story, whether it's just the second part of this book or later stories that keep going. But that's such an interesting choice, considering that they only apparently filmed the first half and didn't set up the second half, where in this day and age, like the Hobbit book was a much smaller book, broken up into 3 films. You would expect that if they're going to take a studio's going to take a gamble to put out this much money on a property like this, that they would have filmed 2 parts at once. So it's an interesting thing to say, like, Chani is really going to become important. She's going to, especially at the end of this first part, come into play, Paul's visions, etc. But if there was the chance that the second half of the story doesn't get told, that seems like such almost a wasted entry point into the. I don't know. I know that there were some people who felt like a little bit of a bait and switch. That she wasn't in this story as much as the marketing materials may have suggested,
which is not unlike
that, but
how much Sting was actually in the 1984 Dune, who was also a actor / musician.
Yeah.
So time repeats itself.
She's the Sting of our time.
She is
as
Sting.
many people have said. Everyone says that.
It's great. And then we should jump on to the Doctor Who show that we have to review.
But why?
But it was great. I did really enjoy it, and I'm very curious to see how the Sisterhood show goes, which is a TV show that they're doing, and I don't know anything about it other than it's focused on the Sisterhood. Yeah, and Denis Villeneuve is supposed to direct the pilot.
Oh, that's cool.
And I forget the woman's name who's the showrunner, but I'm looking forward to that. That could go south, or it could be the best thing in the world. Who knows?
Yeah, interesting. Okay, well,
good adaptation.
We did that.
Are we going to rank the Dune adaptations? Because you've got this one,
the miniseries,
the sci-fi series, you've got the Children of Dune. It's fine. We don't need to do that. We're going to hit the button, right?
Is it possible to see the sci-fi series?
Yeah, they're all. I mean, they're illegally. They're on YouTube or whatever. If you want to search them, I've seen them several times. The sci-fi series is probably the closest, like as far as like adapting to the book. I mean, they're pretty faithful. They also don't do the dinner party. They even do the stuff like where you go to Giddy Prime. I think. I don't know. It's been a while. I can't remember exactly, but I know Princess Irulan is more involved. She's a bigger character. They gave her a lot more business in the sci-fi series, but it's a little bit closer to the book. But the costuming is not great at all.
Well, no.
The budgets aren't great. I didn't love the acting. Children of the Dune, which was the sequel that they did, which is like Dune Messiah and Children of Dune, I thought was much better. And it features a good, what's his face? The young Professor X. He's also...
Yeah.
Drop his name in right now, Dan. Hit me with him. James McAvoy.
I knew there was a Mac in there, but I couldn't think of it.
Okay, it's fine. We finally got to
Cut it
James
in.
McAvoy. And anytime we get to James McAvoy, it's time to hit the button. Because that's when we trip out on the
Let's find
spice.
that button. Get those fingers ready, people.
Where's your friend then? Can't see her anywhere.
I don't know. Surely she wouldn't have left without a word to us.
I shouldn't think so. She seemed a nice bird. Friendly. We're not stuck up like you, Duchess.
Look, don't call me Duchess. I'm worried about Dodo. I'm supposed to be looking after her, you know, showing her around.
You, that's a laugh.
Well, it is our night for surprises. What do you want in here? Oh, it's the doctor. Do you know him? He's Dodo's boss. He looks like that disc jockey.
I find you both here. Well, I hope Dodo and yourself have enjoyed yourselves.
Yes, thank you. Have one on the house, Doctor. It isn't every day we get the over 20s in this place. Dig your fab gear.
Fab gear. Who's your friend?
He's not exactly a friend. I've just met him. His name is Ben. Ben, the doctor.
Yes, how do you
Hello,
do,
sir.
my boy? I don't see Dodo about.
I'm afraid she's gone.
She's gone? Gone where, Charles?
Well, she came to answer the phone about half an hour ago, and we haven't seen her since.
All right, this is Dan. Dan, this
Eric.
is... I lost my thing that I had open for just this reason. This is The War Machines. This is the 9th and final serial from the 3rd season. This is from 1966. This is lucky number 3 as far as our seasons go. It was written by Ian Stewart Black.
How could you forget that from those titles?
Yep. And directed by Michael Ferguson, Mickey Ferg. Old Mickey Ferg is behind the camera on this one. The TARDIS and its inhabitants, the Doctor,
What is this again?
Doctor, and someone named Dodo arrive and get to meet a fancy computer called Wotan and the professor of Brett who created it. And you find out this computer is so fancy it's going to be hooked directly to the White House. It's going to be hooked directly to the Royal Navy. Space is involved with Cape Kennedy. Everybody's all about this new fancy computer. But a computer goes crazy. And so we have to go to a nightclub and we have to meet Polly and we have to meet a very depressed Navy man. And some stuff happens. Dan, what did you think of this William Hartnell story? Getting a lot of feedback in my headphones, so I hope you guys don't
I
hear that.
I hear a little static. Too.
What did you think
There you
of
go.
the War Machines? Dan?
I was going to give you a second if you want to try to fix your static.
Is it still going for you?
Well, just a little. Just don't move or breathe.
It's gone, I
Perfect.
think.
Just don't move.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, what did I think of the
Yeah,
story?
what
Well,
did you
first
think
of
of
all,
it?
so, just so we don't get thousands and thousands of emails and death threats.
Uh-huh.
Apparently, this is the 10th story.
Oh,
of
I
the
said
third
the
season.
ninth story.
You
You know
said
why I
ninth.
said the
Like
ninth
a- like
story?
a real
Because I was
jerk.
reading it off Wikipedia, where it says the ninth story.
Well, I don't know. I'm reading it off a different Pedia.
Okay, fair enough.
Pedia. I'm reading it off of
Yeah, if you go
Pedialyte
to
bottle.
Wikipedia, this is actually interesting.
I've heard
Because
of
if you
it.
go to the Wikipedia, it says The War Machines is the 9th and final serial of the 3rd season. Now, you're on TARDIS Wikia, probably.
Yes, yeah,
Where it says the
yes.
10th.
The
So,
10th and final serial
one
of
of
the
you
third.
out there should hit Wikipedia or TARDIS Wikia and correct it so that it's true.
Put it on both of them. Just say 9th or 10th.
Yep, and
On
when
both
you
of
need
them.
to,
Cite something?
say what source, use our show.
Link it to Doctor Who.
Link
show.
to the old Doctor Who show. That's
we,
very
we
interesting.
Get a crazy amount of traffic to our shows from Wikipedia.
Interesting.
So, great. Anyway, Eric, what did I think of this?
What did you think of this show?
I really enjoyed this story.
All right,
It's-
okay.
I really.
What is it? You passed out? Is it a lie that you enjoyed the show?
No, I'm sorry. I don't know why. It was just funny to me that you sent me an image of the Wikipedia article.
Just so you don't think I'm crazy.
No, I totally think you're crazy, but not because of that. That had nothing to do with it. Okay, sorry. What did I think of this story? I absolutely enjoyed this story. I thought it was a lot of fun. There's some, the whole. We'll come to Dodo a little bit later. The disappearance of Dodo, but overall the characters are great. I really enjoyed this performance by Hartnell.
Yeah,
this
he's a good
version of
Hartnell.
the Doctor. There's some weird things that will come later, like some things that feel a little out of character for the Doctor that we've seen to this point and the Doctor that he kind of becomes later. Again, it's a little hard for us. Always the caveat, they're watching these stories out of order. We're watching them now chronologically, but not necessarily back to back. So, anyway. But it was a lot of fun. I like the overall concept of this computer that's going to try to take over the world in order to improve it. So it has its own sort of its own internal logic based on the inputs that it has, and then it comes to the conclusions that humans can't be trusted, and let's take over the world, and they'll be our little slaves. I love the setting in London in 1966, getting to see some of the city and the architecture, and then going to a swinging 60s club and the all the extras grooving in their clothes. I did not didn't read anything about this beforehand, so I didn't know this was the exit of Dodo and the introduction of Polly and Ben. Polly and Ben, I think we've only seen once or twice before, but only in animated form. I don't think we've actually ever seen them.
Yeah, we definitely saw Polly in animated form, but didn't we see her in another one? Or no,
Maybe
I guess
once.
maybe we didn't.
I don't know.
Maybe
I
we
don't
didn't.
think
Maybe
so.
yeah, we definitely saw Power of the Daleks, where
Yes.
I felt she looked more like Nico than she actually does.
Yes.
When you watch this one, but you're right. Yeah, she's in a bunch, but I don't think we did the Smugglers or the 10th Planet or Moonbase or whatever. So
when they came on screen for the first time, I didn't recognize that. Oh, that's until they said Polly.
Yeah.
Like, oh, Polly, great, that's awesome. And Ben, when we're introduced to him at the bar, did not have any idea who he was.
Nope, I didn't know he was going to become a companion.
Not at all. No.
I was just like, who is this bummed out guy at the bar where everyone's like, that guy's bumming everyone out. Go talk to him.
Which was such a weird thing. I guess that's Polly's.
I guess their job. Sure. I'm a scientist and I cheer people up. But I like, you keep going. I'll eventually.
I enjoyed the introduction. They both were characters that had a fair amount to do. Poor Polly getting hypnotized. That was her whole introduction to this. Was just already automatically becoming a baddie against her will. But she still had had a lot to do. Had that moment of breakthrough when she lets Ben get free from the warehouse. Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so that was a lot of fun. And it moved the pacing. I thought was really pretty good. Over 4 parts here, we got a lot of action. The cliffhangers were pretty good. So, moving through the whole thing, I thought it was a lot of fun. Eric, what's your bottom line on this?
I didn't really like this one, Dan. So I'm unlike you. I thought it was kind of boring, to be honest. I felt like I liked the first episode of the 4-parter. I liked Polly. I liked Ben. I loved the Inferno Club. I love the idea of AI going crazy. I'm always a fan of the body snatcher who's possessed kind of thing with the sound, and we get that. This is not the first story where in Doctor Who a computer will take over your mind with sound. But after that, I was just sort of bored. I feel like the machines, the designs of the machines themselves were pretty bad. I didn't love the look of them and the, when they're going around London, it was all right. It wasn't terrible. I thought Dodo was kind of terrible, but I guess we'll get to her later. Yeah. She didn't. We'd only seen her, I think, in the Gunfighter, so I didn't. The first time I saw her, I was like, "Who is this person?"
Yeah.
Were we supposed to? Because again, I don't remember what. I guess the Gunfighters was her introduction. Her twice before. Was that where she came from, the Gunfighters, or maybe she came from before that? But I don't have any kind of relationship with her, and I felt like her personality was super bland, and then all the weirdness. I guess we might as well talk about it. She just disappears. She she's sort of like involved in the beginning, and then she's instantly hears the sound where no one else does. So she's got hyper dog hearing, and then she starts to get taken over. And she's at the club, and she gets the phone call, and she disappears. And then I guess she gets cured, right? And then goes to lie down for like 48 hours.
They take her away
you never
to
see her again.
Sir Charles's
Sir Charles
country house.
Yeah,
Anyway,
it's weird. Like, and I understand. I've already like seen comments come in on Twitter. That's a thing. Nobody knows what happened because all of a sudden she leaves the show off screen, and you just hear from Polly, who's like, "Oh yeah, she said to say she's hanging out with her friends." Huh? Okay, whatever. Yeah. So that was weird, but I feel like I would like to know what's going on in the real world that led to that.
Other than apparently her contract ended midway through. I don't know why.
It was just
why
weird.
They wouldn't extend it just to finish the story, or if there was some acrimonious something or other.
Right.
So I don't know how much that knowledge played into her performance in the story, because like you said, we haven't really seen her much before, so I don't know if this was a typical performance for her. But I think some of the work she was doing in the first story and in the Inferno Club before she gets the phone call, I thought that was actually it was fun and interesting, and I kind of liked the character there. But then she kind of goes into that mind control thing, and it was even more leaden than the other characters, and just felt like, I don't know, maybe she was dragging her feet towards the exit.
Yeah, and like she's written in a way that like you feel like she's going to be so much more important because she's the last. Like there's 3 of them that are possessed by this computer, and she's the last one that comes in. And there's that shot where she's standing in the front and they're behind her, and it's like, okay, well she's going to be more involved.
Central,
and then all of a sudden she's cured and disappears.
Yeah,
fine, it's fine. I liked the bartender at the Inferno Club too. I thought she was
Kitty?
good. Friends with Polly.
Polly
was great. She's super tall, or everyone else is short, but she seems like she's tall as hell.
Short.
I like her, so I would like to see more. I guess we're not. Maybe we're actually not going to see more stories with her. But she was interesting, and I did like the Navy dude, Brett. No, what's his name? Ben.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, other than that, I just felt a little bit bored. Even though, like, as I say it, like, I thought Hartnell was pretty good all around. He was like very likable, I felt. And it just felt like, I don't know. It just felt very like middle of the road. I would like to know, and maybe I missed it, who is the disc jockey the Doctor looks like that they make mention? Is that like someone famous? That's someone watching it would know who they meant? I was expecting the disc jockey to come and do a switcheroo or something. Like
I think it was Wolfman Jack. No, I don't know either. It is mentioned on the TARDIS Wikia because I was looking to see if they had an explanation.
Did they say why?
They did not. They just mentioned that it was said, but not who that was referencing. So please write in. Let us know.
And why does Polly get blamed for the creepy dude at the club? They're like, that guy's being a weirdo creep. And then I think Ben, is his name Ben? I'm going to keep calling him by a different name. Ben is like, why'd you lead him on? Remember, she's getting blamed just for being Polly. Thought that was a little weird.
The guy that starts a fight with Ben. Yeah.
It's fine. I don't know. I told you when I finished watching it, I was like, I feel like I'll have nothing to say about it. Because I can't, like, the acting was good. The story was serviceable. It didn't I didn't really connect with it, or it didn't move me in a way, and I feel like I just don't have anything to say about it.
Well, then I'll take it over from here. You can just close off your computer.
I can talk more about Dune.
Do you want to talk more? Okay, a couple of things.
Title sequence was brilliant. Yes. I loved the title sequence. I loved the title sequence. I wish we had more of those title sequences.
Go on. Why did you like it so much?
It was just different. Like the way that they broke, it was very artistic. The war machines, like all of that stuff with the numbering, and it felt like a computer printout or something. Mm-hmm. Like it was on the form matched the content. I thought it was great. It was good stuff.
Yeah,
and the typeface and all that, everything sort of worked. Mm-hmm. So good on you, art director, whoever came up with that.
Nicely done.
Yeah, and I felt like the first episode was really the strongest for me because it was like, oh, this cool title sequence. Oh, we're in the Inferno. Oh, it's Polly
Setting
and the
up
swinging kind of 60s energy coming on. And then after that, it just sort of was downhill.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. I think that was definitely the strongest episode. Like you said, you get all those elements to it. You get Wotan is starting to become. You're starting to see what the threat is. It starts speaking. But there were some interesting things. I think. So So saying that I like this story, I did. I enjoyed it. I can definitely see what you're saying. There are some very slow parts. The testing of the war machines in the warehouse, even just any of the warehouse scenes where they're unpacking boxes for about 20 minutes.
Yes.
Okay, that we did not need that.
Or just demonstrating the arm chop and it's just like, okay.
It took forever. I didn't mind the design of the war machines themselves, but they were cut-rate Daleks. I actually expected the Daleks to be part of this. I expected because they are referenced at the beginning.
They didn't come at some point make an appearance.
Because the Doctor even says to Dodo in one of the first scenes, he mentions something in passing about the Daleks and realizes, oh, you've never met them, and I hope you never will. Which felt like Chekhov's gun. That of course you're going to see them at the end of the story, but that never happened. Instead, you get these war machines that were kind of cut-rate Daleks in a way. They had the same sort of. The Dalek gun always reminds me of a paint roller.
Yes.
So
you just want to put a
paint
roller right over it.
Just do the wall; it'd be perfect. So that was it. It's like a cut rate version of that. One thing I hate, is calling the Doctor Doctor Who. I
wanted to talk about that.
Stand that.
No, I love that. And I want it because
so angry.
There's so many people that I've seen, and not anymore, but when Twitter first came around, where people would just shame people if they refer to Doctor Who as Doctor Who and be like, the name is the Doctor. But it's no, here, you would see Doctor Who in the title sequences all the time.
Right.
But here, he's literally, the computer's I'm looking for Doctor Who, get me Doctor Who, what's the number of Doctor Who? And I'm like, you know what, Doctor Who's a cool name. I'm all for Doctor Who. You hate Doctor Who. You don't want your
I absolutely can't stand it. I think it kind of breaks the whole idea of the name of the show.
I get annoyed when...
It is the mystery.
Yeah, I get annoyed when Stephen Moffat would constantly make that joke. Where it would be Doctor Who, and then in the form of a question, and you're winking at the camera. But Doctor Who as a name always felt cool to me. That's me.
Can't stand it. Makes me angry. But anyway.
What's up with the computer? Now, I was trying to what's the computer's motivation to wipe out humanity? Just because humanity is imperfect?
Yes, it can't progress any further. So
right, so it's the end. My dog. The thing I liked about the computer was it knew what TARDIS meant.
Yeah,
and so they didn't really explain how. But it's oh, okay, well maybe it has access to all this information. The Doctor's been on Earth before, therefore it's able to somehow scrub through all of the data and maybe piece it together.
But that felt like another misdirect to me. I thought it was because
it was an alien or something.
The Daleks were behind it.
Oh, right.
And they knew. So I was like, oh man, it is going to be the Daleks, which I wouldn't have wanted. I'm glad that didn't happen, but that's exactly what I thought was going to happen. So very glad that we didn't go down the Dalek rabbit hole, which always seems to be, especially in modern Who, seems to be yeah, it's the end of the season. We're going to throw in some... Anyway, so I'm glad that didn't happen.
What year did we say this was? This
66.
was 66, right?
66 is the setting, and it was also broadcast in 66. So
right, and then and 2001 is 68 or 69, right, the film. I'm trying to think,
sure.
Even though this is so commonplace now, AI taking over, killing humans, we're not good enough. This has got to be one of the first... I mean, maybe Isaac Asimov or whatever has...
Exactly what I was going to say. That feels like Heinlein or Asimov or something like that, but it definitely is...
But it's one of the first, shows or... Yeah.
Sure.
So in that sense, it's pretty ahead of its time, I guess.
Yeah. I thought that the performances even of a lot of the supporting characters was very good. I especially like Crimmins, who is they called him the little electronics guy. I thought he was great, especially during those scenes that they each got to do when they got the thought control conversion, and they were like kind of had to do the kind of physical work of like almost like a Steve Martin in All of Me. Was that right? Yeah, whereas like one leg's getting pulled away to the other direction, and it's a lot of physical business that had to happen there. I thought that was all really fun and interesting. You have Wotan is planning to form this mass distributed computing network across the world. You saw that the White House is going to get connected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have that chart.
That chart
with all of somebody had to print out those little cards and put them up there.
So I looked that up because I wasn't sure. Like, 66 is a lot later in computer history than I tend to think about. So much happened much earlier in the 50s. So computer networking was an idea that came about in the 50s. So it's not something they invented or were far ahead of themselves on that. But that was interesting too, that it was all kind of phone based and modem based back then. So it felt like a lot of the sound effects sounded like old school modems, and I don't know if that's actually what they were sampling, but to me it was very reminiscent of that. Mm-hmm. So like the computer would call someone and take over their brain, and it was like a dial-up modem sound. So I don't know if that's actually accurate to the time, but I really appreciated that. Very interesting. I don't know, man. I definitely see where you're coming from with some of the slower pieces, but overall, I don't know.
It was fine. And for a Hartnell, we both touched on it. He was really good in it.
Well, here's the thing.
And even when he stands up to them, like when he's like in the street, that was a good moment for him. When he stands up.
He had a lot of great moments, but he had this habit of just disregarding human life in this story many times.
Yeah.
So Ben was looking for Polly the entire time because he didn't know where she went, didn't know she was under mind control at first, and the doctors, we just don't have time to look for one person, the needs of the one, etc. So there was that, and then, but the bigger problem is the doctor figures out how to, create this little, electrical interference, trapping one of the war machines, so he can reprogram it and sends it after Wotan, knowing that the building is still occupied full of people who are not exercising free will. They're not doing this on their own. They're being controlled, and he just doesn't care. And even Polly is going to be there, and the main scientist guy, whatever his name is, Briggs. No, does it matter? Anyone?
It does not matter. It 100% does not matter.
Professor Brett. That's it.
Brett.
Professor Brett Michaels was there. But he sends the thing there, knowing full well it's going to have a confrontation with Wotan and blow shit up. And Crimmins, the electronics guy, does die. It was weird to me that they actually killed him. I don't know why. It's just a weird thing. Like, that was an undeserved death. And it's just surprising to me that they kept that in the show. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
He didn't do anything.
I feel like that's not the first time that's happened either, though.
No, I'm sure it isn't.
It's like a trait of the Doctor. He's not always the human life is not always so valued.
This version of the Doctor, for sure. Yeah, it definitely changes later on, but yeah, I don't know. Anyway, yeah, Sir Charles was the only character I really just don't understand.
Has he been in the show before, Sir Charles?
No, I don't think so. But they do have these relationships later on, especially in the unit years stuck on Earth.
Yeah, this is like a proto-unit 2 feeling story.
Definitely was.
Definitely feel like they're going to see how they end up getting there.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed the modern setting. Modern in terms of the time this was shot and broadcast. Yeah, I don't know. So it was fun.
Sir Charles is like a celebrity. He feels like he's got celebrity status. We don't see him again.
I don't know if we do or not. I hope we do. I mean, God bless him.
God knows. I hope we do.
Just wonderful.
Yeah, I think he's only been in this one. I don't think we see him again. He's only been in the War Machines.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's not much else to say. It is strange, besides the production fact that Dodo leaves halfway through the story, the kick in the pants at the end. You mentioned that Polly says, Dodo gave me a message to tell you. She sends her
Yeah.
love. And the doctor kind of like completely craps on her. It's like sends her
Kind
love.
of, yeah.
How ungrateful she is and whatever. But just to not have that on-screen goodbye.
Right. So you
Very
don't get the on-screen
strange.
goodbye, and then you also get like
It's worse.
I mean, they've
because
done
he
it before, but they sneak on, like, so they're not even invited
Yes.
on either. So it's like this weird scene where that happens, then the doctor disappears, then people you don't really know just go in. So the whole thing felt very
Yeah, it was strange
strange.
too because they were going to return the key that the doctor dropped.
yeah, because he drops
whenever
the
he-
second
he drops
key, and then
the
he's
second
got,
key.
It's yeah.
He must have like a pocket full of keys because he had his own. So they're going to go return the key to him by breaking into the police box and give him that. Apparently, I was reading this. I didn't notice this. Did you? That during production of the story, the police box prop was completely rehabbed. So the filmed versions
Yeah.
of the exterior of the police box were before they redid it, and then the close-up studio ones are it was redone complete. This is where like the sign changes, the orientation of the door changes a bit. It's repainted. Like
Interesting.
it is
I did
apparently
not-
pretty obvious,
know
but
that.
I didn't notice it at all.
No,
it just
me
did
neither.
not occur to me. So that's good
That's
eyes
interesting.
for those people that saw it.
But to jump back to the
No, let's not.
to the them
Oh,
sneaking
go
on. A lot of other people have snuck on, right? I feel like Nissa or Tegan or one of them snuck on, and maybe Adric snuck on. I like it so much more when the doctor's like, "Do you want to see this wonderful world?"
Right.
And then they
Right.
choose to go on. Right? I just like
Yeah, instead of-
another
instead of
people,
the
and then I
kind of
imagine like in the
kidnapping.
next step, they're like, "Where are we?" And then it's like, are they trapped with him? And then it adds a whole other element.
Well, they definitely are because we know in this era of the Doctor, he quote unquote can't control where the TARDIS
Yeah.
is going.
Yeah, they don't know.
So they definitely are trapped. So I definitely do prefer, and I even like going a step further when they set up people in the story who you assume are going to be a companion or would be a great companion, and the Doctor never asks them. So it's just like I love that kind of, oh, is this going to be the person that travels with him? Is he going to give them that chance, and how are they going to respond to it? As opposed to, like you said, just
Yeah,
like
just sneaking on.
Whoops,
Whatever, it's fine. It's all good.
whoops. Now we're stuck somewhere else in time and space.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So Dodo, do you remember her from the musical?
yeah, of course.
Is that the only time we saw her?
Let me see.
I'm trying to even remember like what
I
her
know that's the main story that we saw her in. I feel like we saw her in.
So there's a story
One
called
for-
The
No, so
Savages
just to be-
that takes
to be
place
clear-
in between these. So we lose Steve, right? Because
yeah, we didn't see
Steve
that.
joins a couple episodes before the Gunfighters, right? I mean, they find him with this little doll in
Yes.
space, but is Dodo in that one?
No, she's not.
Because it
No,
seems
you know
like
what, I
they're
guess-
going through companions
Well-
pretty relatively quickly, right?
Well, you know,
Seems
remember we're jumping
I
around
guess
a
we're
bit,
jumping
but we
around too
we
much.
had Susan and Barbara and Ian for a long
Yeah,
time.
forever. And
So then it feels like after that
Steve,
they
I
started.
think, was in the show for
Just a
for
couple.
quite some time too. So
Well, this is only season 3, so it couldn't have been that long. It must have been some of season 3, and that was it.
the Time Meddler, that's when we had Vicky, and I think we first meet Steve,
Yes,
right?
I think that's right.
I liked Vicky. I don't know. I
cares?
mean, Dodo, I guess it's not fair to just say based on one story and literally like 25 minutes in this whole 4-parter. But I didn't know. It just was hard to even understand what her character was supposed to be about.
Yeah, there wasn't much personality there that we could see. In
No,
these-
and
in these
you can almost
short
feel
pieces.
maybe the awkward, weird energy if like her contract's up, or maybe they're
Well, that's what I'm
treating her
saying.
so poorly.
Is that what was going on in the story? Because in some scenes her performance was really lively and interesting, and then others it really, and it's not just because she was under thought control, although that doesn't
Right,
help.
that
But it kind of just felt like she was.
I can
guess that's
guarantee
dragging.
one of our listeners knows,
Oh.
and we will hear about it. So you can let us know what truly happened behind the scenes with Dodo.
I see in my previous notes from other stories we reviewed, The Gunfighters is the first and only previous story that we saw with Dodo. Of course, she was in a bunch that we didn't see, but yes, that's That was the only time. Interesting, because my first note in the Gunfighters is Dodo ? So, yeah, that's why. Anyway,
it's fine, and I'm sure the actress is totally fine. It just felt like it was 100% on the script or direction or whatever. They didn't seem like they knew what to do with her or how to make her work.
Yeah, where it feels like Ben and Polly are coming to this with much stronger personalities and traits, things to do.
Right.
And it's probably also nice to come on with two companions at once who've played off of each other a bit and are both kind of getting their feet at the same time. So you kind of get that interaction at the same time that you're seeing them overall with the Doctor. Anyway, good stuff. It was, like you said, a fine story. I rate it slightly higher than you, and especially grading on the early Hartnell curve, I think this is one of the better ones for me.
We know what we thought of it, but what did our listeners think of it, Dean?
What a segue.
Yep.
Segue. So thank you very much, folks. We did tweet out earlier that we were reviewing this story, so that's on Twitter at TODW. Nope. TODW show.
That's
I did
right.
say it right. Yeah. I know what it is. So thank you for getting back to us. There was a bit of a conversation there. Look at me vamping as I get to it. Okay.
While you're doing that sound, didn't someone send us a way that we can read international reviews? Or did I hallucinate that?
Oh, yes.
Because we haven't had a U.S. review since March 29th. Doesn't that seem odd? We've completely been abandoned. I've abandoned my child. We've been abandoned by our U.S. Brothers and sisters. Interesting.
Yes, there is a way to do that.
But you can get your other stuff.
Okay. Hang on. I'm sorry for the editing you're probably going to have to do. That I hope you're going to do around this. Cause
I'm not editing anything. I'm leaving all of this in so you people know how painful it all can be.
Okay. So thank you so much for giving us feedback on Twitter. Let's see. We got a reply from Homeschooled Film School. Says, gotta wonder if the actress playing Dodo just quit on them in the middle of the show. It's like she's there at the beginning, then you just don't see her anymore, and somebody says she will be staying behind. I mean, yeah. So basically, like we talked about, apparently she did just leave halfway through, and I just don't, I don't like that. Not only do we not get to have the on-screen send-off, but that it was so negative that the Doctor was just like, well, screw her.
Yeah.
Ungrateful little brat. And then she walks off. So I wonder, if that was written towards the actress. I don't know. It's a very
that's like possible, I guess. Like, was it
horrible,
that
though.
dark?
I hope not. But we don't know. So if you guys know,
clearly they did. Yeah. They had some producer or something must have had an issue with the actress, because what a horrible. They could have done anything. They could have had a dramatic. They could have made her exit a pivotal part of the plot, which would have made it even the show more interesting.
Or I was reading something else. Someone else has kind of suggested, why didn't they just film her goodbye when they were filming the other exterior shots of her outside the TARDIS? I mean, they could have done something.
Yeah, they could have. It's like they didn't want to.
And it wouldn't have been extra days of shooting. Like, it just could have been done. But they just maybe, I feel like there's something deeper going on there.
There's more to it, Dan.
Matthew Pittard says, Jackie Lane, who played Dodo, had talked about her role a couple of times, but her leaving the show remains a little bit of a mystery. Enjoyable, but honestly, the crazy whispering of Wotan drives me nuts.
Yeah, it's a slow talk, whisper, bad guy voice. Will never escape it.
And over distorted, and wasn't fun. It goes on to say, worst companion exit, very close to it. It definitely feels like the worst one. I mean, it's the worst one to me is just because it's the saddest is Sarah Jane. That will always be the saddest.
Yeah, it's a very sad image.
This was the most dismissive, for sure.
Definitely.
March Payne says, really enjoyed the introduction of Polly and Ben, as they felt very much characters of the period. I agree with that. But felt bad for Dodo just being dumped halfway through the story. With Stephen having just left as well in the previous story, it feels like they were clearing the decks somewhat.
Yeah, and that totally makes sense. I mean, you have two companions being replaced almost immediately by two other companions.
Yeah, very strange. Jason Thompson says, I believe her contract ended at episode 2, but it's still strange they didn't. Oh, this is where I read this. It's still strange they didn't record a farewell scene with her outside the TARDIS when they did the pre-filming for the bit. When they arrive and are hanging the out of order sign on the front of the TARDIS.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's exactly right, Jason. Sorry, I quoted you without knowing where I was remembering reading that. But that's a great point. They really could have, if the production staff, writers, etc., cared about the character and the actress, they could have written something and still worked around the fact that she wasn't going to be paid for the 2 more episodes.
That's right.
To be in it. So this. I wonder how deep this goes. Jason Thompson goes on to say, totally random little detail, but I love that the sign saying out of order is the same font as the episode titles and credits for most of this era. Though not for this one, obviously, because as you mentioned, they changed it to kind of that computer font. But it is the same sort of same sans serif font that they use throughout the regular titles, which is nice. He says a couple more tweets here. Thank you, Jason, for helping us fill up some time here. It benefits from being watched as part of a marathon. If you've watched the whole of the Hartnell era up to this point first, the totally different style of the Doctor getting involved in a contemporary setting in the story really stands out. Unfortunately, another thing that we miss watching these stories kind of jumping around a little bit. But we do, get to see some evolution of this Doctor. And lastly says...
It's so weird because 3 stories prior, he was getting dental work in the 1800s.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's true.
And then you end up here. It's a little bit mixed.
Jason Thompson finally says in the last tweet, regarding...
Dodo? No, I don't know.
No. Oh. Okay. Sorry. Jumping back, he's actually replying to a previous tweet about Dodo leaving leaving, and they didn't film kind of a goodbye.
Okay.
Says, which is what they did for Michael Craze and Annika Willis in the Faceless ones. They both get abducted and don't appear after episode 2 when their contracts finish, but they had recorded their farewell in the pre-filming. In the airport, so they could appear in part 6. So that's fascinating.
Okay, so maybe even they were planned on doing that, and just they didn't get around to it, and therefore
I liked more of the conspiratorial mind.
Yeah,
they
me
just
too.
Didn't care and didn't want her to. Didn't matter. Let's see. Paul Paranoid says this might be the only time the TARDIS's disguise serves any purpose whatsoever. And I do like that they do. They have the policeman walk by.
Yes, we didn't talk about that.
That's
He's
cute.
I have to put the sign on because they'll try to use it, and you get the guy in the background actually trying to go in.
Yeah, I mean, we don't really get into the contemporaneous time period in this show very much. I think the last time you and I saw one was Barbara and Ian leaving, and for them, it was even 2 years in the future for them.
Yeah, running through the streets and stuff. That was interesting.
Yeah, yes, but yeah, that's right. I forgot about the slideshow montage of them frolicking. But you're right, Paul. This is funny that they not only put up the out of order sign and make reference to the fact that
but it's not odd that it's
have
there.
The police officer walk by, which is really fun.
It's like one of the first times it's not at all strange a police box would be where it is.
Right where it is, yeah.
Now you'd be like, what? What is that thing?
Creator Talks Pod says, The War Machines is my favorite Hartnell. Set in
really? His favorite Hartnell?
It's definitely up there for me. I like this version of the Doctor in this setting and pacing better than a lot of the stories. So it goes on to say, set in London, it felt like a Pertwee story, with the exception of Hartnell's line fluffs. Yes, he does have so many in this story, too.
He does, but it's almost better than normal. Right? I mean, because some of these ones that we've done, he's flubbing lines left and right. I actually thought, even though they're there, he did a better job, I feel like, than he normally does in this.
I agree.
Because I feel like some of them, I was like, Jesus, man. get that guy a cup of coffee or something.
Yeah, it's definitely an endearing thing, quality for him, I think. Creative Talks goes on to say, I do like the cap and cape, the cap and cape that the Doctor's rocking, and Polly is great. She's cheeky and has great eye makeup. Oh, her eye makeup is pretty fantastic.
Yeah, she's good. I like her.
And I like the opening title font, very Rollerball, and he included a poster of Rollerball Houston versus Madrid.
What is Rollerball?
Just like it sounds. It looks like a combination of roller skate. I don't know if it's a film or if it's a real thing. I don't know. And I'm not
1975 film, Dan.
But it is definitely that bank computer font at the bottom of a check. Yeah, all very good stuff. Thank you for that. Matthew Pittard says, replace these, the War Machine themselves, replace these with the cleaners from Paradise Towers.
Yeah.
All right. Much better, different design. Also, why number each War Machine? Does Wotan have a bad memory files and forgets who is who? And apparently there's the 10 different War Machines that are being built strategically all over London. So what they had originally wanted to do was build 10 prop War Machines. That just seems crazy. Of course that was too expensive, so they couldn't do that. So instead they just had little numbers that they would replace on the one prop to make it be a different one. Apparently
a cost-saving measure.
Well, you would think. I can't imagine that was a cheap thing to build, even though it didn't look... I thought it looked pretty good, though. And it was functional. They had it out in the world, like driving down the road and
I guess, but
in front of a green screen where it's just kind of running at you, which was kind of fun. Anyway, Luke says, I saw someone recently say it's a Hartnell story for people who don't like the Hartnell era, and I can't get that out of my head now. That's very interesting. My favorite thing about this episode is the very strong characterization of Ben and Polly. Yeah, the scenes of them, the introductory scenes of them in Inferno is great.
They give them instant personalities.
And an instant connection, too.
Yeah,
they seem to really...
don't.
Yeah. We didn't even really talk that, Polly gets hypnotized and she's in the warehouse, and Ben gets captured but not hypnotized and is put to work. Without any guard, no one's trying to stop him. Polly just kind of lets him go. But they do get this whole, fisticuffs, hand-to-hand fight between Ben and Polly, which was really an interesting thing. Ben didn't easily overpower her or anything, especially after you see the fight that he had with that guy, the jerk in the bar previously, where he just completely laid him out. So I like that he and Polly actually had a bit of a struggle. So it gives her more of, I say this a lot, but more agency and more autonomy, just a little more interesting than just a damsel in distress.
I wonder, so it sounds like Ben and Polly are a duo, the way Barbara and Ian were a duo, and they'll be together forever until
I don't know.
Off, kind of thing.
I would assume that, but I don't know if we get to actually see them. Apparently, this is one of, if not the only, complete story with Ben and Polly. Complete meaning surviving episodes on film.
Oh, really? And then Hartnell's gone soon, right? And then we're gonna have Patrick Troughton. So Patrick Troughton and Ben and Polly are probably the Ian and Barbara and Hartnell pairing. And most of Patrick Troughton's episodes were, overwritten with old episodes of Simon and Simon. whatever they've got on. Or Blue Peter season 16.
So yeah, unfortunately, we won't get to see more of Ben and Polly, but I really like these characters.
So that's what you said was true, though? So there's hardly any surviving... That's sad.
According to the internet, which cannot lie, this is one of the only fully, if not the only, fully...
Right, and the one we watched with her was animated, so...
It was all animated.
There you go.
Yeah, so sad. Let's see. The Doctor on Twitter says, this story is a very clear precedent of what would end up being the era of the Third Doctor. So, someone else saying this was a Hartnell story for people who don't like the Hartnell era. Someone else saying this felt like... so there's two different people saying this felt like a Pertwee story. And I could definitely see that. Like we said, this kind of sets up, presages the whole unit being stuck on Earth thing. Mm-hmm. Maybe this is where they got those ideas from, that they knew that it could work. And lastly, a few tweets from our friend Misfit Scully says, "Hi guys, really enjoy the War Machines. Director Michael Ferguson only recently died. This shows off the post office tower beautifully. Awesome architecture. I must, For us watching it 50 years later, I don't know the significance of that building, but it looked so cool. So I can imagine that's a really iconic tower, especially at the time. And to use that as the setting for the show must have been really cool for the people contemporaneously there. Scully goes on to say, the War Machines director, Michael Ferguson, was sort of the first Dalek. He was an assistant floor manager on The Dead Planet, the first episode of the first Dalek story. And he held a plunger in view at Barbara at the end of the episode cliffhanger. That's awesome. Still one of the best endings. Agreed. That's an iconic cliffhanger. Yeah. I love that. And that he goes on to become a director is really cool. Lastly, they say, I know you don't do ads, but I need views for my blog. Uh-oh. Got sucked into a plug here.
Plugs are fine. We'll plug
I want to beat 2020's total of 2,712. Currently need 330 to achieve this. The blog is at misfitsmidlifecrisis.com.
Yeah, head on over there.
And it always mentions the pod on it. Oh, well, a reciprocal. It's like one of those blog rolls from back in the early days.
The old blog roll. WordPress,
so
2005.
misfitsmidlifecrisis.com. If you can do this, it's not a problem. Of course.
Yes,
it's cheeky, but we don't care. That's great.
Yeah, if you have a podcast or a blog or something, and you're a listener of the show, or you're putting some kind of album, any creative endeavor, you can let us know about it. We'll plug it. I'm all for plugging people's hard work creatively.
I'm all for plugging people.
Hey now.
So thank you so much.
Hey, did you see, totally unrelated, but did you see Hawkeye? Because I didn't.
Not yet.
I wanted to. Good,
bad?
I
have not. I have not watched it yet. I like Kate Bishop in the comics. I don't like Jeremy Renner all that much as Hawkeye. So I'm interested to see the transition.
Well, I love the Matt Fraction, David Aja, I think I'm pronouncing his name correctly, comic book. And from what I could tell from the trailer, it seems heavily
influenced by
that run.
That's cool.
So anyway, go on. We don't.
I do like when they use. I like when they very clearly use specific source material and kind of put their own spin on it to fit into the MCU.
Yeah, I mean enough that the logo is taken from the design of the thing. So yeah,
that's awesome.
I like when they do that as long as they pay the people that made the thing that they're basing it on, which I don't think they always do. So that's
I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
Why? I hope that's the case too. Look at you, thinking about the important things. So thank you again. If you want to tweet at us, that's at TODW Show on Twitters. But if you want, you can also send us an email. That's the old Doctor Who Show at gmail.com.
We got some emails.
We got an email.
Didn't we have more tweets, or you did all the tweets?
That's all the tweets that I see. Oh, there were a couple threads, and it's hard to read threads on about this because it's just a little bit of back and forth. But if you want to follow all that, just look.
I know we definitely got some good emails, so I guess jump onto the emails.
Look at this here. This is an email from Conrad, Hair of the Hound on Twitter. Says, Dear Eric and Dan, happy Thanksgiving, you beautiful people.
Oh, thank you.
Loving the reviews. Eric discovering the gunfighters via the medium of edibles was a highlight.
True story.
It is funny that you can remember it so clearly. It says, I think you'll enjoy the War Machines. Lots to say, but we have to talk about those crazy kids from the Inferno Club, especially Polly and Ben. The most successful youth culture sidekicks in Who, and easily the cutest and coolest. Agree with that. They definitely felt like real people.
Yeah, they were cool, but it's interesting because you're basically saying, Dan, like all that stuff's gone. So how are people getting to know them if you can't watch them?
Well, I know that a lot of people are into those. Just so the audio recordings still exist, and they'll do what are they called, the telesnaps or whatever. So you get like stills from the shows.
Okay.
So I'm sure there's like reconstructions of some of these things, and that's not to say that entire stories are gone. What I meant to say is this is the only complete story.
Gotcha.
So there may be some that have one or two missing.
Fair enough. Keep going.
I will. Thank you.
And stop. Go. Stop. Poor Dan had to deal with me for 7 years just going, no, stop, hold on, stop, go.
I hope I'm pronouncing the actress's name correctly, but the actress playing Polly, Anarchy Willis.
Okay.
I hope that's right.
Sure.
Is a genuine groovy chick then and now. I met her once and was ecstatic when she actually said "far out."
Oh,
that
that's
is the
cool.
coolest thing I've ever heard. Check out these amazing pics of her in swinging Carnaby Street and the cover of 60s Film Mag. We'll add these to
we'll
the
have
show
to add
page.
those to the
These are
show
pretty
page,
awesome.
definitely.
Really, really cool. What a dynamite lady. Love it. 2, Michael Craze brings freshness and energy as Ben and looks adorable in his sailor uniform. I kid you not. The HMS teaser. I will say... Oh, and he goes on to say, very popular with the gays, and you'll see from the Twitter hashtag, Ben Jackson Klaxon contains a nautical innuendo. I have to say, like I said, I didn't recognize Ben and Polly because we've only seen them in the animated form, and I did think, wow, that's a handsome guy sitting at the bar. So the actor Ben is definitely not bad. So very popular with the gays. Well, this one included, so that's great. I'm glad I'm on the right band ship there. Lastly, he says, poor Dodo gets unceremoniously written out, but actress Jackie Lane, while very private, showed up to Who events until she passed away earlier this year. Check out the brilliant spoof Dodo exit in Pip Medleys.
I don't know what words you're
I don't know
saying.
what
I
this
just hear sounds coming out of you.
Burp. Check out this brilliant spoof Dodo exit, getting shot of Dodo on YouTube. Anyway, there's a clip here. We'll also link in the show as well.
In the show notes.
Speaking of endings, he says, the old Doctor Who show nears its final year, but wait, it looks like you still have one complete Hartnell to go. The Keys of Marinus includes a knife-wielding fetish monsters and Barbara smashing up brain creatures with a hammer. He knows that if we mention Barbara,
I'm going to have to do it. Well, here's the thing. Is that on BritBox?
I will let you work that out while I finish reading the last
you keep
bit
reading and I will look that up. Because if it is, and it's got Barbara. And it's recommended, that's not the first time. I feel like someone else has said that same story.
I even recognize that
Maybe
title.
it was Hair of the Hound twice.
It probably was.
I definitely heard it before.
There's the Hair of the Hound and a sock puppet that was also dressed up like Hair of the Hound that said, please do Keys of Marinus. Last says, I am personally begging, in all caps, begging you to cover the 1981 special, K9 and Company.
Wait, what?
Which sees Sarah Jane team up with K9 to fight black magic at Christmas.
Oh, yeah. Well,
there is so much happening here. It has to be seen to
Black
be believed.
Magic?
And is crying out for a Dan and Eric live review with festive drinking. This is actually a very nice idea. I don't think we'll be able to do it for this Christmas, but maybe we'll do it in this winter time. If you feel like switching things up, Eric.
Well, maybe we could do it for this Christmas, Dan. What's it called? What's the name of it? K9 and Company?
If we can find a version of this that's complete, maybe we will do that.
We're not even in December yet. We should.
And you know what? We'll if we do it.
We don't have dates. We can move
Conrad,
stuff
we're going
around.
to give you a producer credit if
I can't find it though. So
right.
we'll figure that out by next time or by when Dan and I talk again.
Yeah,
I can't find it on BritBox, but doesn't mean that it's not there.
Some other illicit place on the internet.
BritBox search is a little weird.
Thank you so much for that awesome email and great idea. So we will look into both Keys of Marinus
Found it.
And
K9 and Company, a girl's best friend. Sarah Jane searches for a missing aunt in a sleepy Gloucestershire village.
Gloucester.
What is it? It's fine. It's on here. It's only 49 minutes. Yes, 1981. Come on.
This sounds great.
We gotta do it.
We can do it live,
and it's a Christmas themed thing.
So we'll get our eggnog, we'll get our our mulled wine, we'll get our edibles, and we'll do it live.
Yeah, I think we'll make that happen. And the other one was Keys of Marinus, right?
Yes.
All right.
The Key Party of Marinus. Fantastic. So thank you very much for that email. Again, if you want to email us, you can do that at theolddoctorwhoshow@gmail.com. You can also check out all of the GIFs for the show on our Instagram feed. That's also at TDW Show.
Your gifts are on my list.
Oh, very nice. The gifts that keep on coming. So
Keys of
we can
Marinus
do that.
is also available on BritBox.
Fantastic. Maybe we'll slot that in there somewhere as
Oh,
well.
dude. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-parter. Just gonna throw
Well,
that
that's
out
it.
there. It is
Oh,
a
boy.
6-parter.
Maybe we'll review the first part, and that's it.
All right, we're in
You
for
can also-
K9 and Company. Yes,
We are out.
We'll discuss Keys of Marinus. Based on the stills, it looks kind of cool, though.
Okay.
I'll say that.
Remember, you can also go when we make these changes. You can go to the show page at theolddoctorwhoshow.com. You can see all the previous stories. Our RSS feed right now is only showing the 100 most recent reviews that we've done. And we've done 120 something already. So, but if you want to see all of them, they are available on our show page. I think that's it. Eric, anything
We
else
had
you wanna wrap up?
reviews that on the UK site, but I don't know how to access them. That some listener told us how to do. I don't know if you gave them credit for that, but they did contact us and said something like, "Hey, I've been leaving reviews. Stop asking us to leave reviews." And we were like, "That's because you're not in the US and we only have access to the US." And then they figured it out, or maybe you figured it out, but
No,
somebody figured
someone
it out.
told us. I thought we talked about this on the last.
Maybe we did. Because clearly I thought we had reviewed Dune and we didn't.
Hang on 1 second.
Hang on 1 second.
Okay. The way you do it is you generate the link to the show on the podcast app, then you replace the country code, which for us says US because USA. So we can change that to one of the other country codes, and
What's the country code for
it
the
is
UK? Is it UK?
It is it is GB of all things, which feels a little controversial. But it does only show us a couple of them. It doesn't actually. It only shows us snippets, so we can't actually see the entire thing. But let's see what we got. Let's take a quick gander.
Yeah,
here.
well, we got the top 3, and they go back to... We have one from November 9th. We have one from October 29th. And by the way, I did mention...
5-star reviews. 5-star reviews.
Yeah, I did mention Goblin, my fantasy adventure graphic novel, available
what
now
is
from
that?
me and Will Perkins, which is
Hadn't heard of it.
doing very well in the UK, and that is 100% thanks to the fine listeners on this show. So I'm
Hey.
not surprised to see such great reviews.
It's holiday gift giving time.
Oh my god, it's
What a
holiday
great
gift giving time.
thing.
If you know someone that likes graphic novels, you should throw it out. And it actually was on sale
Throw it up.
in the UK. I don't know if it's still on sale, but if you check the Amazon.co.uk site, the last time I looked, they had it discounted. So why not pick it up right now?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So speaking of those reviews, though, we do
Yeah,
have
give it-
three 5-star reviews. This one from Harry Whitley that says "amazing" is the title of the review. I can't argue with that.
No, it's a good covers it.
They say, "I don't know how I've only just found this podcast, but I'm so glad I did. Great podcast, personable hosts, and great content. Keep up the good work."
Thank you, Harry.
Harry, can't complain about that one. Another 5-star review from October. Callum 12 ACN says, "Superb podcast. Again, you guys are the smartest podcast listeners in the world. I don't write many reviews, but I had to for this podcast. Been listening on and off for a couple of years now, and always find myself coming back. By no means the most knowledgeable about the show. We never pretend.
I like when
to-
people feel the need to point that part out.
we make no bones.
These
about it.
guys
There's no
are
pretense.
not quote unquote smart.
No. It's almost as though we've
They
never
don't have
even seen
Doctor
the show
Who
before.
smarts.
No. We're more street smart.
Yeah.
So they by no means the most knowledgeable of the show. Can't argue with that. But the chemistry
Yeah.
and the humor
Yeah.
between these two hosts more than makes up for that. So thank you. Can't argue with that. And lastly, the last review here is novel length. But I'll suffice it to say, Helena gave us a 5-star review. I think I'm guessing they would have given us 6 stars.
Oh,
if they
thank
could have.
you. Thank you, Helena.
But the review is entirely in defense of the Fifth Doctor, which I will not read. But if you guys want to read it, go.
We got a little bit. Hello there, and thank you for this podcast and all the hard work, the work that goes into making it. Dan, remember our promise, we have to read it. I have very much enjoyed listening to your discussion of Classic Who. After listening to the majority of episodes now, I would like to offer a defense of the Fifth Doctor. Five's character shines a light on other aspects of the Doctor's persona, fallibility, youthful exuberance, compassion, whilst latching onto aspects of previous incarnations, preferring to play the fool and appear more harmless than he actually is, like 2, or having the irritability of 1. Then there is his gentle Edwardian manner. He is a humble incarnation who is inordinately intelligent.
We did it.
But doesn't like to flaunt it. And in fact, is almost too insecure to do so. He has simple pleasures that give him a lot of joy, but that, owing to his tendency to end up saving planets, he so rarely gets the chance to enjoy, such as cricket. And he does like cricket. He's dressed at any minute that you can go into a cricket game.
Absolutely.
He is stoic. I like his reserved nature and the way he seems emotionally invested with the other species he encounters. One thing in particular that really saddens me is that Peter Davison wanted to inject humor and more of his own personality into the role, but JNT wouldn't permit it. That was a huge mistake, because Davison in real life is naturally funny and warm person. In fact, he is very, quote-unquote, doctor-like. In his natural character, and by refusing Davison the same expressive freedom that his predecessor Tom Baker had, Davison was essentially playing the role with one hand tied behind his back. As an aside, 5 had god-awful companions. Controversy. The exception, of course, was Nyssa. Nyssa was everything that Tegan wasn't. Intelligent, curious, and she had a focus and high sense of morality, and is eventually what led to her parting ways with the Doctor. I feel like I'm filibustering. If 5 had been able to ditch Tegan, or better still, if her character had never been created,
oh my god,
and just traveled with Nyssa, and Davison had been able to inject more of himself into the role, then I think 5 would undoubtedly be looked upon with all the fondness and acclaim that Tom Baker still is. And I'm a huge fan of Tom Baker. I think Davison had a lot to contend with as the Doctor, but the fact that he still managed to create thoughtful, gentle, stoic incarnation with a unique persona is to me testimony to what a good Doctor he was. Finally, I'm really sorry because I know you like her. But at the same time, I think Tegan was a particularly awful companion. For me,
Oh my.
She personifies the very worst of the human condition. Despite the whole of time and space laid before her, Tegan has no interest in learning about anything. Not science, not philosophy, not the stars, just nothing. Okay, this is me jumping out here. That's 100% true.
I can't. Yeah,
she has no wonder in she has no wonder in anything. Isn't clever, isn't inquisitive, and completely fails to appreciate the things she experiences. Tegan is ignorant and doesn't hesitate in expressing that ignorance every time she talks. She's not interested in exploring the great unknown, not interested in making contact with her... Hitherto.
I got you. I got you back.
This is the part of the podcast when you realize I have no idea how to read. Unknown forms of life.
It's all phonetic.
She has no desire to make the universe a better place. She has no higher morals, such learning about other species in order to better understand her own place among them. What she does like to do is talk a lot, moan a lot, and yet offer no practical or philosophical input. In summary, she is a typical, self-centered human being who thinks only of her own personal gratification and myopic self-interest. Stepping outside of the fictional world of Classic Who, it is not difficult to see why Tegan is such a selfish, two-dimensional character. She was created by Jonathan Nathan Turner as a way to try to get freebies to fly to Australia, etc. So it's easy to see why such cynical, disingenuous creation led to her being such a dreadful character with the same traits. One also has to consider that JNT was, to my mind, a terrible showrunner.
Wow.
Who exploited Doctor Who for his own self-gain, much like another future showrunner who similarly destroyed aspects of Who canon
Which one?
and created dreadful characters for his own purposes.
Everyone says that about every showrunner.
Whew. First off, that was an amazing defense of the Fifth Doctor.
Sure.
So bravo for writing us that. Yeah, I wonder who is being referred to at the end. Is that a dig at a modern showrunner, which I would think maybe, or is it a dig at some other showrunner that came within the classic series? No one knows. You decide.
No one can
yourself.
know. It's impossible to know.
It's impossible to know. And once you know, it kills the mystery. So it's better not knowing. Come up with your own theories. I could tell, not a fan of JNT, but nor am I. So I think I would agree with you on that. I still like Tegan. I don't know what it is about Tegan. I don't know if it's the accent. I don't know if it's the fashion sense. But you're not wrong. She's not wrong in the points that she's making here.
Eric, are you still there?
Right? I mean, all of that is true. And I think we constantly complain about Tegan and Davison. He treated her poorly. She also, as what's being brought out here, is not interested. Did we talk so much we broke?
No, you're fine. You're fine. Keep what you had. That was my bad.
Okay, so that's all. I just want, as an excellent point, I still like Tegan, even though you make a great case. And I felt like Davison was very mean to Tegan throughout his run, which is why I'm not such a huge fan of him. But it's something to think about. Next time I watch a Peter Davison story, I personally will keep an open mind. I cannot speak for my better half, Dan, over there. I don't know what he's going to say.
Here's what I'll say. When anyone gets down on the Fifth Doctor, I will just remind them that there is the Sixth Doctor. That's all.
Yeah,
he's better than Colin Baker. I mean, you can't. If there was a defense of Colin Baker on this
I would
story,
do a
I'd be
defense
upset.
of Colin Baker.
Get out of here! I don't want to hear.
Listen to the big audio stuff.
No.
Some of my favorite.
Okay. All right.
That made me like Colin Baker.
Well, I don't like the way that he was portrayed in the show. Anyway,
no, his episodes are not good.
Eric, this is a bonanza for you. I know this is not exactly Christmas time, so we're a little early here, but I do have a few more reviews if you'd like them.
How'd you get more reviews?
I went to other English-speaking links here, and we never looked at Australia.
Throw them out.
So
I can't. I need a break after reading.
I'll just do the ones from this year. 2 more 5-star reviews coming from Australia.
Oh, thank you, Australia.
Reviews overall.
Folks.
Thank you so much. Everyone else has already stopped listening to the show because it's really just for you.
No, you had to listen to that. That was very well written.
That was good.
I think that was a good, well-written defense of the Fifth Doctor. And yes. I'm not kidding. We have to read whatever you write.
We will read them.
So if you want to sneak in your erotic poetry, I'm going to have to read it.
And we'll do character voices. If you want to give a breakdown of the characters, we'll do a little rehearsal beforehand. 5-star review from JWPM in May of this year.
Okay.
Fantastic podcast for fans of the classic series. Indeed. Brilliant podcast to listen to for those short journeys to work, etc. The lads don't take themselves or the series too seriously. Feels like a compliment, but at the same time, is it? And the reviews are always entertaining, even if some of the serials are not the greatest. Thank you so much. We try to make it fun, even if we...
7 years. We're hitting 7 years.
Get the heck out of here. Yep. Another one from Marketry 28 in June of this year from Australia says, my favorite Doctor Who podcast.
Oh,
Eric.
Thank you. And
there are so many good podcasts.
Yeah, there are a lot of. You throw a rock, you're going to hit a Doctor Who podcast. So that is a very high praise.
They say, I love these guys. They come to each episode without any preconceptions. I'm editorializing, and without having done any research. They go through the plot in some detail and give their own honest opinions. They're also very funny. Aw. Thank you so much for that. So Australia is now on our list of favorite countries, so we appreciate that. We can also look at Canada. Other people call it Canada.
Yes.
There's nothing super recent, but there's three podcast reviews that I'm able to see here. So Merce Chapel says, oh no, Dr. Super says,
Dr. Super?
Merce Chapel is the title of this.
Okay.
I don't know what that means. These guys have a great back and forth and get a kick out of every show. It is refreshing to have fans who clearly really enjoy the show but haven't lost the fact that you don't need your compendium at your bedside to add your piece to the conversation. Very true. Being from Canada, I also enjoy the stories about bear attacks and walking in the woods. Thanks, fellas. Hey, we've had more sightings recently. I'll save that for another show. Border City Andy says, this helps. This is helping get through the dreadful Colin Baker years. Thanks. 5-star review. Yeah. Okay, awesome. Cool. And lastly, I don't know, Bi-Monthly Alloy?
Okay, sure.
Says, nice change. Enjoying the show a lot. Feels like you're on a ride with the hosts. I'm really only a second Doctor fan, but enjoyed listening to fun discussions of the other Doctor's episodes. Definitely give a listen if you're a Doctor Who fan. Thank you. I think I will give a listen to this show. But that's, I think, all. Yeah, that's all that we got. So, but
that's great. Now, that system that you just did, so is it easy now for us to read international reviews so we could start doing that?
At least we can see the most recent ones, so we'll see if they updated. So if you're in one of those far-flung regions that also happen to speak English, because that's just going to make it much easier for us, I'm not going to try to read our Lithuanian reviews, although I hope there are some. Please do so, and we will read them aloud next time.
And we will read all of the text.
Poetry or not. Yep, absolutely.
And in other news, be sure to watch The Monster of Peladon. So this is a return to the Peladon storyline.
The Monster
this is a
of
John
Peloton.
Pertwee story, which we had done. We had done a Curse of Peladon already. So this is now Monster of Peladon. So this is, I guess, the sequel to that with John Pertwee as our next story.
So when is that one going to drop in the podcast?
I don't know,
folks.
It's 3 weeks from Wednesday. So where does that? Oh, should we not do it and then
That's what I'm wondering.
Okay.
I think, folks, go ahead.
No,
ride the Monster of Peloton.
Let's do it. Let's mix it up. Let's not ride that Peloton.
Oh my God!
So many kids were killed by the Peloton that it affected the stock. Babies were just getting. Dan, do you want to do the Canine and Company next?
That would be the 28th of December recording. No, I'm lying.
I think it's the 19th. Episode before Christmas.
It's the episode before Christmas. It would drop the Christmas week. Yes.
Let's do it. And things are rough.
Are we going to do it live?
It's only an hour.
Are we going to do it live, Eric?
We could do it live on Twitter.
We could do it live on Twitter.
Do it on Twitter Spaces.
Okay.
Is that what it's called?
Here's what we're going to... Yes, that's what it's called. Eric and I will figure out the details because that's what show hosts are for.
Yes.
But we will give you ample notice.
Monster Peladon post.
Yeah. But we're going to take Hair of the Hound suggestion here. We're going to do a live show. We're going to do Sarah Jane's story. Yeah. It's going to be lovely. We'll do it live. We'll have some drinks.
Yep.
We'll make it festive.
I love it.
All right.
Because otherwise, if we ended up doing Monster Peladon, Christmas would come and go, and it would go. But let's just commit to it now.
It's committed,
and it's actually easier for us because it's only an hour.
So much easier.
And then we're entering the new. Do we have an episode before the end of the year?
No, that would be it.
Okay, so then we start the year off with the Monster of Peladon, and we are, unless we decide to do that Keys of Marinus. Otherwise, it's just going to be Tom Baker and Pertwee.
Back to back.
We'll figure that out. We'll let you know what we're doing for Keys of Marinus.
Great idea.